Sam and I started sending each other voice mails to our phones, and she said, "Hey, I got this idea for the song." It was like na 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 na.
Today we have Samantha Fish and Jesse Dayton here with Planet Guitar to talk about their long friendship and new album, Death Wish Blues. But I'd like to start off with some introductory questions. I understand you both first met in Kansas City over a decade ago, but then reconnected more recently in New Orleans. What made that the right moment for your collaboration?
I don't know. I mean, this project has been kind of in the works. It's been talked about and swirling around in my camp for a couple years, a collaborative record with this, vibe and style. And when I saw Jesse last year, it was like, it just kind of dawned on me if he was down with it, he'd be the perfect guy. And so we just started chipping away at it and started writing songs, and I think we had like a really natural chemistry and both love the same kind of music. So it just worked really well.
Okay, well, I was immediately hooked when I listened to the album. I thought it was really great. There's so much energy and fun, and there's some really great grooves. Was it fun to make?
It was so much fun. We went up to New York. This all happened really fast, and Sam and I, started writing songs together, and then John Spencer got involved, who's such an integral part of the sound of the record. And we just had a really great time together. And I think it shows on the record. You can hear us that, it's not just business as usual. It's near and dear to our hearts.
You recorded it at Applehead Recording Production in Woodstock, a studio situated on the band's Rick Danko's farm. And you chose John Spencer of John Spencer Blues Explosion to produce. Do you feel that this pedigree or history leaves a mark on the work that you're doing?
100%. Yeah, I mean, the environment has a lot to do with, it's a moment in time that you're capturing when you're in the studio and you're making an album. I mean, we were there for, over a week, but it just waking up in that environment and going back into the studio, and the history that's there, and you can't help but like leave an impression and leave a little bit of a mark. And then working with John, I've been a fan of his since I was a teenager, with the work he did with RL, and bringing together these sounds and these genres that, in such a great way. Like we just thought he'd be perfect for what we were trying to do. And it definitely made its impact.
What would you say to that, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, every day was just a new adventure in the studio. And I knew we were doing something different because, the drummer didn't sound like Whipper Layton or John Bonham, and the guitars weren't like overtly Stevie Ray Vaughan or this kind of white boy blues thing. And the songs that me and Sam were writing were, rock songs with a heavy blues influence. And it just all felt new and fresh with John, kind of as our captain, of the ship.
There are many interesting aspects of the album, but specifically, I'd like to ask you about the album opener, Death Wish, which I believe you wrote together. How did that song come about?
You got this.
You want me to tell?
Yeah, you tell the story.
So Sam and I started sending each other voice mails to our phones, and she said, "Hey, I got this idea for the song." It was like na 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 na, and I was like, "Ooh, that's." And the thing with Sam is she's hyper melody conscious, which has been great for me because I've always been, this kind of Dylan lyric guy, from the storytelling Americana country, whatever you want to call it, thing. And Sam really focuses on the melody. So I think together we made this kind of these strong songs because Sam would, we have to have this defined melody, and it was a great thing for me. It was totally inspiring when we wrote that song. I'd been watching old film noir movies and like kind of old murder crime movies, and it felt like an empowering thing for Sam to sing, where she flips the script on the guy who's trying to run and some kind of game on her, and she flips the script on him. And I don't know, hopefully people will pick up on that, but mostly they're probably just going to be whistling Sam's melody.
That's right, yes. How did you get the attitude to sing it, Sam?
Well, it's funny because John, he really is I've never worked with a producer who produced vocals in the way that he approached them. I mean, it was we talked about it. It was like kind of like an acting coach, rather than like I've had producers who were diligent about, the performance is always important in getting, but getting like a clean note or like hitting this note again, but make sure you really hit it. But John, he really focused on the perspective and where you were coming from when you were singing and the character that you were embodying. And, some of the things that he would really put focus on were like, inflection and just how you like it was about delivering with attitude. And I think that him helping us really channel, the characters and the songs, it just made for a really I don't know, personality driven album.
Yeah.
A lot of character. Yeah.
I was particularly enjoyed Dangerous People in that respect.
Yes.
I was I was intrigued at one by reading that your producer had you banging on beer cans gathered from the backyard at one point.
Yeah.
Was that your Tom Waits moment?
Yes, definitely. Well, I knew when John was there, I was like, well, we got to go find some found instruments and like work with what we got. But we were talking about building a loop for this song.
It's so crazy. I walked into the studio, I went to go get coffee, and I walked in, and Sam's surrounded by just like pots and pans and all this crazy stuff, and she's playing it, and they're playing it, and we're getting this, and a lot of times that doesn't work, and this really worked, and it worked quick. We put the song together quick. Now, I will tell you, I was a little concerned about the song almost didn't make the record.
All right.
And yeah, we were both kind of like,
we were stuck on something. We were both stuck a little bit.
Yeah. And so
John saved it.
John saved it. John, demanded that we, follow it through, and it worked out great. And I hope we're incredibly wrong.
No, I know we are, because now I listen to the record and I'm like, I love this song. What were we thinking? This is a great song. It has its place on the album, and I think live it's going to be so. I don't know how we're definitely not going to be going around the venue searching for pots and pans, so we got to figure out how we're going to play it.
Yeah.
And then what about Super Duper Bad, which also attracted my attention? And I think you said it was way outside your wheelhouse. Is that right?
I mean, yeah, it was. Well, I mean, it's not really. I mean, I grew up listening to Isaac Hayes and all that funky, stuff. And so did Sam. I mean, Sam was turning me on to Elvin Bishop stuff that I'd never heard from the 70s. We're all late to the party on some cool stuff in some shape, form, or fashion. And we don't come out of the womb knowing every cool nuance of music history. And so we were kind of like, a lot of this record's highly influenced by like 70s black music and like the groove on Trauma and stuff like that. It's all kind of this funky thing that John Spencer has kind of based his whole career on.
For a change now, I'd like to give you an artist's name and for you to say one anecdote or perhaps just even one word that comes to mind when I say it. Johnny Cash.
Spiritual aura. He had an aura around him. He was like the Buddha.
And do you have an anecdote that comes to mind when you think of Johnny Cash?
Yeah, I mean, I was working in the studio with him in 1997, and every time he would walk into the mixing room, the atoms and the energy in the room would change. He had this thing and in the movie that about him is like does no justice to the romance that he had with June. I mean, he would walk up to June in front of the whole band when she would walk in and go, "I've missed you so much," and kiss her like they were like kids. And it was just so romantic and so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Devon Allman.
He's fierce. Devin's fierce.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I've known Devin a long time. We met back in like 2012, 2013, and he asked me to do Stop Dragging My Heart Around on one of his records. And we went into the Tom Petty, Stevie Nicks song, yeah. And so that's kind of been like, that's been our song for years and years. But Devin, you know, I don't have like a specific anecdote. It's just watching him over the years and how he's like blossomed into who he is right now, and really taken on the Allman family, you know, tradition and history, and bringing everybody together. He does that. He brings people together, and I've watched him do that for years and years, and he's so good at it. You know, and I think I just it's cool to see, because when I met him, we were both obviously younger, and just seeing who he is now, it's pretty powerful.
I love that song. Thank you. Eric Gale.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Eric is a badass.
Yes, really.
Oh, he's amazing. Eric flat out, just every time he gets on stage, every other guitar player just goes, they just drop their instrument and watch him, because he's incredible what he does with the guitar. I mean, it's different than, you know, than anybody else. Like, I mean, the way he plays, the way he performs, and people just go, and I've seen his shows, and you know, I mean, he's been on the Allman Family stuff. I've seen him on cruises. I've gone to his shows. Like, people in the audience everywhere just like dumbfounded. So I have a funny anecdote. It was in Memphis right around the time that I recorded Killer Be Kind. And I was in the audience. I went to a show, and he called me up, and then he called Kingfish up behind me. And so he played a solo, and then he handed me this guitar, which was the other way.
Oh, yeah.
And I played like whatever. And then I had to hand the guitar to Kingfish, and I went down into the audience, and Ori Naftali from Southern Avenue, he goes, "What happened to you just now is my worst nightmare."
Because it's upside down, right?
Well, but also like those two really incredible guitar players,
yeah.
like I'm bookended, and I'm like, "Hey guys, I'm here to do my thing." And it was fine. I saw the videos after, but I remember that, like, I mean, I would have happily just watched those two play guitars. Yeah.
That's a lovely story. Thank you. Turning now to some guitar questions. Jesse, I've recently read that you said that we're starting to see the resurgence of rock guitar for the first time in a long time. Others say that guitar's moment in musical history is gone. What would you say to that?
Well, I think there's a lot of disenfranchised rock fans out there right now who aren't getting the goods, and they're going back and they're listening to these, you know, heritage acts or classic rock acts, because they have to go there to get the goods. And I think it's making a resurgence in a new way, whether it's the Black Keys or, you know, Jack White or whoever it is. I think it's starting to come back. And I mean, I think we see that on a business level too. The market share is starting to get bigger, grow bigger. And, you know, that's why I think people are freaking out over Samantha, because she's given them something, you know, she's given them this raw guitar playing that, you know, for better or worse, urban music kind of, you know, towns like Atlanta used to be these legendary rock and roll towns, and now they're completely run by urban, you know, music, which I love the old school rap stuff, the early, especially when it was almost like punk rock, you know. But now it's, you know, it's kind of the corporations have dominated. But I feel a resurgence, and, you know, some of these labels are starting to sign more rock acts, and it's to me, it's exciting.
Both of your guitar playing has been described as fiery and passionate. How do you get that intensity?
I mean, you just have to feel it. I don't know. I mean, I go on stage and I feel it. Like the stage is where I feel at home, and you know, guitar is like an extension of your voice. When I'm playing guitar, it's an extension of everything that I'm doing, and it's, all my favorite guitar players were so emotive with how they played, and it's about bending the string, it's about vibrato, it's about, it's not about da 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 da. It's about, let me say something important. And I don't know, when I get on stage, it's like I really feel it and I'm trying to say something, and sometimes it comes out a little muddy, sometimes it comes out like exactly how I want it to, but you just have to care and you have to want to say something.
Okay. We have a lot of Italian fans. Do you know Italy?
We know of Italy, yes.
Yes.
Have you toured there?
Yes.
Yes.
How has it been?
It's been amazing.
I had a blast. Last year we went in the summertime. Some of our some of our Italian fans are just like, they're like really engaged and just very passionate and very supportive. We were out there in the summertime and it was like 114 degrees in the daytime.
Wow.
And yeah, and people still came out. So that should say something. I was very, very honored.
Are there any?
Well,
Sorry, go
I
on.
love the Italians. When I go to Spain and Italy, when I open my mouth, a banjo comes out sometimes because I'm from Texas. So I've learned that if I just keep my mouth shut, sometimes I can pass for a local, with the dark hair and the olive skin. So, but we both love Italy and we can't wait to get back.
Do you have any Italian guitarists you particularly like?
Well, I'm a huge Ennio Morricone fan.
Yeah.
I mean, massive. Like I've got his records on vinyl, like that I collected when I was a kid. I nerded out on him early, and we both love that soundtrack thing. And I'm a huge fan of Italian filmmakers. And when you go to Italy, the beautiful thing about Italy, because I have Italian motorcycles too. I got vintage Moto Guzzi. I got a vintage Benelli. But when you go to Italy, it's not just a light switch. It's a light switch that's got art on it. So everything they do is from an art perspective. And, that's a beautiful thing.
Great observation. Thank you. Sam, you've said you loved in the past Bowie and the Stones and Prince and Led Zeppelin. Who are the new bands you're listening to?
Oh God, who am I listening to? I haven't really been listening to anybody new for a while. I know we're talking about like new guitar players and everything. I mean, I liked Jack White's albums he put out last year. He put out 2 that were like kind of prog, a little different for what he's done. But, I found that to be really interesting. But when we made this record, I tend to go back, and listen to my favorites. I tend to go and try and find new music from, that era, that I haven't yet heard. So I haven't like got anybody new on my radar, but I'm always looking. I'm sure, I mean, I'm in the contemporary blues scene a lot. So I see people, in these festivals all the time who blow me away. But I'm always looking for something new to listen to, somebody who's out now doing it.
And you, Jesse?
There's this guy. I mean, I say he's a kid. He's not really a kid. I think of him as one, but he's like named Eric Johansson.
There you go.
Who we're both really excited. He's going to be opening some shows for us, and he's this kid that came up through the New Orleans ranks, playing all the usual dive bars, and he's been opening a lot for Samantha, and I just produced a new record on him that's going to be out some point. And he's got great songs, which, great guitar players are, you can't swing a dead cat in Austin or New Orleans without hitting great guitar player, but he's got really catchy songs. So I'm excited about him.
Okay, well, as you mentioned the live shows, I know that you've played a lot of festivals and shows all over the world. What do you enjoy most about performing live, and how do you approach creating an engaging, memorable live show?
Well, every day is a challenge with a new audience, right? So you get out there and it's like my goal is to like, how do we get these people right where we want them? And so, you build a show around that. I like to come out swinging, and then, the show has to have natural peaks and valleys, and it's about taking everybody on a trip, but you got to first hook them in order to get them to take the trip with you. And, when it's our show and it's like we're playing a theater or, a venue, people bought the ticket and they know who they're coming to see. So they're already kind of, they're ready to take the trip. They bought the ticket, they want to take the ride. But when you go play a festival or something and, they don't know of your music and they're giving you a chance, you have to really design the show around like, how do we capture these guys and then take them on this ride? It's fun. I love making, set lists and building shows and, yeah.
Yes.
She's really good. She's really good at it. I've been rehearsing with her the last few days, and it's a whole thing. There's a beginning and there's a middle and there's an end, and it's really inspiring.
Okay, one fun question as we close. If you could have any kind of animal play guitar with you, which animal would it be? Which animal would it be and why?
Well, it'd definitely be my cat, because I'd love to bring him on the road. It'd be Mo.
It'd be Mo the cat.
Mo, my cat.
Really?
And I think he's a good guitar player too. He's very soulful and he's very sweet, and yeah.
Yeah, he'd be like a jazz guy or something. There's a reason why they call us cats.
He's pretty. I choose Mo. How about you?
I'm gonna go with the Black Labrador, because I don't know. I've always owned Black Labradors. I've owned them since I was a kid. I got one at home now named Pearl. And but of course we're gonna pick our pets. I mean, it'd be way more interesting for us to say, a polar bear or some kind of tiger, but we're both missing our fur faces.
It'd be cool to see an octopus play the guitar.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Give him a
Question answer.
Double neck.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Thank you for that. What plans do you guys have later for this year, 2023?
Touring till the end of time.
Yeah, we're touring, and from the response that we're getting from the record, this could go on for a while, and it's great, man. We're both super grateful and just excited about the way the record's being received.
Do you imagine any new collaborations in the future, or a live album or anything like that?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about it. We both have projects on the horizon that we're preordained, pre-planned and everything, but I think seeing how we do and how it feels, like we might go in the studio. You never know. The road is long.
Yeah,
it is. Samantha and Jesse, thank you so much for talking to Planet Guitar. It's been a real pleasure today.
Thanks,
you.
Man.
You take it easy. Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye-bye.